Mr. Belmar,
Hey, brother.
how's it going?
I'm happy to be here. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much for flying all the way out to Arizona for this moment. Well, it's for the Jake Paul fight, but
I'm here for you, brother. Jake Paul was just an excuse to come out here and continue solidifying the conquest that we're on.
lovely. And I'm very excited to take you to Ocean 44 here in about 3
You're
hours.
so here's the thing. You're telling me, bro, and I've been to 45 countries. If you're telling me that this is one of the best meals and you actually prove me right, you have my respect.
So I will say it will be in your top 3 meals, and if it's not,
First, is it steakhouse? Or?
yes. And I'll pay. If it's not, then I'll pay for the whole dinner.
Fair enough.
So we'll shake on that.
Shake.
Okay.
And I'll be honest. Remember, I'm from Argentina, bro. Argentina's known for their meats.
I'm going in this blind. I know nothing about Argentina.
Good.
A lot I want to ask you, Luke. You say some pretty crazy stuff, right? So why should people listen to you? Where do you get this authority from? What have you done financially? I know you don't want to disclose any specific numbers, but why do people need to be listening to you right now?
I have to. There's this common idea, and you see it a lot on TikTok, where in the comment section it says, source, trust me, bro. Source, don't trust me, bro. Do your own research. I just happen to be one more stepping stone in your pursuit of truth. I'm just one guy here that has an opinion, and all you have to look is at the results, right? So you look at the end product and you ask yourself, do I want to resemble the end product? And if the answer is yes, then you follow along those steps. And you can pick and choose from different people. Like I learned from you learned from me. And Luke Belmar is just one other guy that's figuring it out in the journey, and hopefully there's some value to extract from that.
So you've already started building your audience really quick. So what do you think people are looking up to you for? Why do you think people are following you and listening to you? If you're telling them, hey, do your own.
I think I have receipts, bro. I have receipts of how I've operated in the business space. I think I have receipts as to how I conduct my life. I have receipts in my reputation, and I think your reputation precedes you. And I think people listen, and the reason they listen is because they resonate. And we were talking about it yesterday, which is, what do they resonate? They resonate with truth. They don't resonate with Luke Belmar. Luke Belmar is just a vehicle for that message, right? So they resonate with truth. You don't resonate with what Luke Belmar is saying because it's Luke Belmar that's saying it. It's because somewhere deep down inside of you, you actualize that truth, and the other person is validating, like, damn, I'm not alone on this journey. Like somebody else sees the same thing that I'm seeing. So I'm just a validator to people that are on their journey and try to be an encouragement in the process.
Okay. So in terms of money, and I know we talked about this, have you made over $1 million? Will you say yes or no?
My max has been $7 million in a day.
You've made $7 million in a day?
$7 million in a day. Yeah. And my best trade was Luna, when I shorted 50 grand Luna, and I made $2.9 million in 5 days.
2.9 million in 5 days in just profit.
And I cashed out. And I fucked up on it because I was telling the boys at dinner that I cashed out when it was like $1 or something, or $2, because I assumed it was going to bounce back up, but it literally went to zero. But that would have been like a $60 million cash out had I wrote it down to the bottom.
So
it's crazy.
Have you had some pretty big losses with trades too?
Yeah, my biggest loss was $3.6 million in 2 weeks.
Wow, yeah. That's insane. So does the missed opportunity of making $60 million on a trade because you closed it too soon hurt worse than the loss of $3 million?
No, because it's just a stepping stone in the process. It's just money. I have enough money.
Does that weigh on your conscience, like a trade that big?
No, because it's just money. Like, what am I going to go buy a bigger house? Am I going to go do? No, I'll make tens of billions of dollars in my career. So it's just another stepping stone. If I'm trying to do $1 billion deals and I'm scared of a $3 million loss, people are playing too small. People are playing the game out here trying to drop ship 1-2 orders a day. Let me test with $5. No, you got to have some fucking balls. So yeah, I'm going in for the big wins. I'm going in, and that means you have to take the big losses. So you'll never see me do deal flows under 10 million. It's fucking impossible.
Okay,
yeah,
that's pretty impressive. So you were just at Tates right before you flew in here, Tates in Romania. How did you become friends with them? What was that about?
Yeah, so I knew Tate when he had like 8,000 followers on Instagram way back in 2020. And basically what happened was I came across one of his YouTube videos and he was talking about COVID. And I started laughing because I'm on the same wavelength on many topics when it relates to what the last 2 years have been. And I went and I took it to my brothers. I drove 2 hours, right? And I said, guys, we need to watch this video. It was a Tate video. And it was talking about that entire plan, right, that he had, presumed that was going to take place around the world. And I said to my guys, I was like, guys, once the world gets fed up, right, and tired of the bullshit, the pendulum is going to swing so hard that people are going to start listening to people like Tate. And had Tate been a stock, right, I bet on him. I would have been up millions of multiples. Approaching my relationship with him was based off of the assumption of who I believed and knew he would become based off of what was taking place in history. And I think that we're literally seeing a revolution in real time I think can be contained. And it's the revolution of people choosing to do and say whatever they want to say. Like, people are fucking tired. And whether they're right or wrong isn't what the conversation is about. It's the fact that people are starting to stand up. And that's pretty dope. And I encourage that. So I build alliances and I build relationships that with people that stand on their truth. I respect that. I commend that. There's too many cowards. There's no courage in standing with the crowd. But it takes some serious willpower, whether right or wrong, to stand on your own and stand on your truth. So I respect that. And when I see people do that, just like I do it, I tend to gravitate to helping those people, or at least being there present. So we did business online, and he just invited me out. We had some issues online and social media and things of this nature. And I was there to give advice, and I did a couple of business deals with him, and just built a great relationship. And I was doing Capital Club in Albania, and I was like, hey guys, I'm in Albania. And they're like, yeah, we're in Bucharest. And we just kicked it for 3 days and just kind of continued solidifying the relationship that we've been building.
That's sick. Solid connection to have, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're just great dudes. At the end of the day, whether you agree or disagree with them, I witnessed how they operate on a day-to-day basis. Like, these guys work. And when you see all these kids that worship people like us, or that they worship people like Tate brothers, or, by the way, you shouldn't be worshiping anybody.
Christ.
Yeah, facts. You end up in a scenario where you look at their day-to-day and these guys are fucking working. Like, these guys are like working all day. They show the flashy, all this stuff, but these guys aren't out here flying private every single day doing all. No, these guys are, they party. When they go hard, they go hard. These guys work like I've never seen people work. So no wonder they're successful. Yeah. They're putting in the fucking hours, and you can do it too. So my encouragement was, these guys are doing fucking $5-10 million a month, and they're clocking in like they're brokies. It's unbelievable. I fucking respect it.
So they're working super hard, still at their level now. I don't know how much money they have, but it's a lot. And they're probably working harder than the people 100%. At the absolute bottom.
They're working harder than anybody in any of their programs. They're working harder than anybody that's commenting bullshit on them. These guys are fucking working, dude. We were at the club working, dinner working, house working, 5 a.m., get back from the club working. Yeah. Like, that's real G shit. And at the end of the day, you got to respect it. You don't have to agree with their belief systems, but if you embodied their work ethic, regardless of your religious views, regardless of your views on any topic, you'd probably have a better life, and that's facts.
Yeah, this revolution that you're talking about, when is this going to happen?
It's underway. It's this idea. It's the pendulum swing. Mm-hmm. It's the pendulum swing of dependency to autonomy, and it's going to be a big fight, because it's a fight against everything that you've been told and taught your entire life. When you were born, you were given a creed, a religion, a name, a political affiliation, a color. You were given a title. You were given a language. Nothing about you is original. Everything has been given to you. So this idea of pursuit and chase of autonomy is trying to figure out, who do you want to be? Not who are you, right? You know who you are. The question is, do you want to become somebody different based off of the results that all these identities have yielded for you? And most people have all these tags and these identities and this baggage, and their outcome of life is shit, right? So if I want to embody different things, I need to figure out, who do I want to become? What principles do I want to embody? You know, I used to be this idea of like being a patriot, right? Well, what is a patriot, right? You would define patriotism differently than I would. So it's just the word, because people rally behind symbols, and the symbol that we're rallying behind is the idea of Capital Club, which is to build the largest decentralized entrepreneurial network in the world. And what does that mean? It's just a network, it's a club for people like you and me to elevate. And the reason I had the epiphany about kind of this conquest is that you can't do shit by yourself. You can't do anything by yourself. This idea of being a lone wolf doesn't work. The lone wolf has either been abandoned by his pack, or his pack has been killed, right? The wolf doesn't go by himself. So people have been taught, indoctrinated, and isolated their entire life. From the moment you're born, first grade, you're supposed to go home after you clock out of school, keyword clock out of school. You hop into public transport, you go back to your home, you eat your bullshit Cheerios, you go, as a little kid, 6 years old, you go, you close the room to your door, and you solve problems by yourself. Do you think billionaires, the kids of billionaires out here solving problems by themselves? They're out here taking public transport, that the way that they operate is the same way that peasants do? No. They're operating clans, groups, societies, organizations. And since I realized that I couldn't get into the club, I'm building my own. And I am in the pursuit of developing myself, and hopefully my life is of inspiration to people, and that we rally together to pursue our fullest potential together. And I think that an army of one is just as bad as an army of none. You can't do it alone. You have to do it together.
So this club that you're building, is this an attempt to protect yourself from the other side, or is it an attempt to fight against the other side, like a revolution?
There is no fight. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to conquer myself. This, all I can control is what I do. I can't control what BlackRock's doing. I can't control what FTX is doing. I can't control what the SEC is doing. I can't control what Joe Biden is doing. I can control what I am doing. Focused on the conquest of myself, and that conquest will inspire others to conquer themselves. And if you can just focus on yourself, because if you actually are humble enough to recognize that most of the problems in your life are caused because of the things that you do, not the things that people do to you, now you become autonomous. And it doesn't matter the bullshit that's going on around you, you're still autonomous, and you can live your best life because you're pursuing your fullest potential. And yes, there's trials, yes, there's tribulations, yes, there's enemies, but I'm not focused on anything beyond training right now. I'm training, and my life is training, and that's kind of how I view it. So we have this idea of building a dojo, right? And this idea of the dojo is we're all students together. You know, there's different ranks, there's different positions, but we're students. We're all students of what the dojo represents, which is work ethic that's designed to pursue your fullest potential. So that's kind of what we live by, and we try to embody, G.
Yeah, and who are these people? Who are these evil people that are trying to keep us, remove our individuality and keep us isolated and alone and depressed and anxious? Who are these people?
So I wouldn't say it's a specific person, you know, because I've sat with billionaires. I've sat with people worth $3, $5, $13 billion to be exact, and they don't know what the fuck's happening. Like, I'm talking to them in real time, and a lot of these guys like are part of the system just as much as we're part of the system. They're just cogs in the machine, but they're bigger cogs. So I wouldn't individually point out one person, but I would say it's a systemic issue that the system in and of itself is rotten. And the reason it's rotten is because it's a system that's been created by people, and people are flawed. Therefore, the systems are flawed. And the longer that the system exists, the gaps get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you start to see the problems. So what you're going to see right now is you're going to see a reset of the system. It's an intentional reset of the system from capitalism to techno-feudalism. I know that this is going to go over a lot of people's heads, but if you can just pause what I said,
can you
go
explain
back
that?
45 seconds and write down what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, in essence, the plan of the future. So it's not that you are going to change the plan of the future, because you can't compete with people worth trillions and trillions of dollars. It's not going to happen. And I'm not in the business of fighting, right? I'm in the business of unity. And unity can exist, right? And it doesn't have to be combative. So what do I mean by a reset of the system? So a reset of the system is this idea that what the businesses nowadays, right, that are part of like the stock market, NASDAQ, all these things, their entire business model and operating system is based off of making sure that we hit the earnings of the next quarter. So right now we have an entire economy that's based off of what are the results going to be in 4 months, right? There is no long-term perspective. People are just fucking leaving it. So the elites have realized that this is not sustainable. In order for them to preserve their wealth, they're going to have to reset the system. And in order to reset the system, they have to blend public and private industry. And this is going to happen through the nationalization of private companies and through banking systems. And what's going to happen is we're going to go into a potentially, hopefully not, unless you're well prepared, it won't matter, into a techno-feudalistic system where feudalism was this idea that back in the day, the rich people owned the means of production, they owned the land, they owned the crops, they owned the armies, and therefore, because they owned everything, they controlled everything. There was no rules, there was no laws, they wrote them, right? And people, the slaves, the peasants, they would work on the land, right? And they would receive a dividend off of the land, and they would have a home, and they would have their food, but they were a slave. And we're going to go back into a system where, like Carl Schwab said in the book that he wrote called The Great Reset, that you will own nothing and you will be happy, right? So people out here buying shit in the metaverse, right? Spending millions of dollars in the metaverse, even though I'm a big fanatic and an advocate for Web3 and NFTs and how they play into the real world, are buying into this garbage and this bullshit of existing in a realm that's a fairy tale and not really operating in the real world. You know, you have people developing these online personas that are worth millions of dollars, developing these ecosystems online, but then the real world, what actually matters, what's keeping you alive, is getting fucked up by the minute. So they're keeping you distracted with bullshit, they're keeping you distracted with drugs, they're keeping you distracted with music, they're keeping you distracted with hoes, and all of this is programming. And you have, for example, this idea that who you are today, which goes back to what we were talking about, these identities and these labels that were given to you, just like labels were given to you, conditioning was given to you. And this conquest is not against any individual or any entity, but it's against ourselves and against the bullshit that has been kind of like dictating who we are ever since we were born. And if you can free yourself from the labels, you become limitless.
So people would describe you as like kind of woke for having these ideas or like these beliefs. Like they would say you're crazy or you're insane if you're reading this, or if they're saying this. When did this all start to happen? Like what made you start to realize that the reality that we are in is a false reality, and that there's like a lot of control and propaganda and conditioning going on by, like a couple hundred people at the top? How did you realize this?
I mean, I've been one of those individuals that has always known something just wasn't right. It didn't fit. It didn't make sense. And the basis that I used as the measurement, right, was I looked at people's results of their life, right? So, for example, I looked at my uncles, and they would give me advice, but I would look at their life. That's all I would look at, is what are the fruits of this person's belief system, and I don't want that. So then I started looking at everything. I'm like, okay, perfect. Everybody's thinking this. I understand it's bullshit because of the outcome of their life, which is a logical train of thought. This isn't conspiracy, right? You don't want to follow people that have bad advice. And then the next thing you should be asking yourself is, where are they getting this advice from? What is the source of that advice? And does that source of advice also have influence in other areas of my life? And then you begin to realize that you're not free, because the information that's being fed to you is a lie. And it's a lie, why? Because it's based off of control for a desired outcome, right? Which is the outcome of, we want all the money, all the resources, all the power, and you are just expendable energy for us to create our empires. That's the philosophy, and it's been happening since the dawn of man. This hasn't changed. Talk about Babylon, talk about Rome, talk about ancient Greece, Sparta, talk about the Chinese empires, talk about Genghis Khan. They're all in conquest mode, and that means that you need slaves. You need people that are weak. Why do you think they put in China all these ideas of putting people through hunger strikes in the 50s and starving their people? Because that's how you keep people weak. You have to be able to control your people, just like North Korea does, right? You have to control your people. So that's what they're doing, but they've realized it they've realized that they can do it in a more intelligent way. So I'm going to explain to you the more intelligent way of control that people are under. Would you like me to share that?
Yeah.
So they realize that you can't whip a slave into submission, right? You can't have an efficient and effective slave if you are beating him or if he feels oppressed. So what they realized is that they could do better and channel the energy of the slaves a lot better and get more slaves, not just the ones of which color they didn't like, but they could have all of them as slaves if they could fool them, if they could deceive them. And Sun Tzu says in the book The Art of War, his teachings on war, says the art of war is the art of deceit, right? And that the easiest way and the best way to conquer your enemy is by not fighting at all, right? So they realized that, what if we just fool people? What if you just fool people into believing that they need to work, hustle 24/7, and we paint this mirage and this picture of success so that we can continue building our empires? So they introduced the Federal Reserve, they introduced the fiat currency, they introduced propaganda machines, they introduced capitalism, they introduced consumerism, all these things, and people bought into it. And those are all the things that you need to reevaluate in your life to start on your journey.
So do you think that they introduce all these things to keep people distracted and fighting amongst themselves, kind of?
Yeah, it's where people focus their attention on, right? So let's say I want to steal all your computers, right? What would I do? I would go across the street, cause some havoc that would cause you to be distracted. I would steal everything. You would come back and you're like, what the fuck happened, right? So they do that at a macro level, right? Anytime that you see crazy shit happening in the world, a lot of times it's orchestrated.
Like the crazy.
I don't want to go into details on YouTube, but like on a personal level, there's a lot of the stuff that's happening on a regular basis. Wars, civil wars, proxy wars, coups, they're all organized.
Just like these big catastrophes in the world.
100%.
You think that they're all just like
a lot of them.
Because you see that all the time, and it happened in Chicago too, where there was this bill that was trying to be passed that would like remove cash bail for people in jail, and it was like in the name of racism or something.
I mean, people can literally just study like things like MK Ultra and this idea of mind control and controlling people and forcing them to do things that they don't want to do. Dude, if through propaganda you desensitize people to go shoot motherfuckers, right? And you desensitize them through the music, people will literally go out and do it. So you can create a culture just by what you feed people. So what they realize is what we need to control is the means of production, the sources of consumption. Dude, if I cut off your internet, if I cut off your electricity, and I close down almost every grocery store in town, people would be savages in a week. They wouldn't know how to sustain themselves, right? Because they're so reliant and dependent on the system, right? That they are not autonomous. And this autonomy is the pursuit of freedom that everybody should be on, and it makes the journey super fucking dope.
Why should everybody be on that freedom, the pursuit of freedom in a, like, what if people are just happy in the Matrix and they just have their happy little
Then they can
life?
stay in the Matrix. Yeah, that's totally fine. But I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the people that are ready to be unplugged. Usually it's the people that are listening.
So you're Morpheus.
No, I'm not Morpheus, bro. I think we are all just players in the game, and we're all trying to figure it out and help each other in the journey. I'm just one more guy, dude.
Do you think these people are evil? Do you think it's worth escaping this and worth fighting against them?
You can't escape. You can't escape the Matrix. Everything around you is a Matrix, right? This office is a Matrix. It's a created system. Even the world, even if you believe in God, the world is a Matrix because it is an orchestrated, created ecosystem by design. But what you can do is you can become the top dog in the Matrix. And if you're the top dog in the Matrix, then you run the show in the Matrix. So your job is to figure out what little matrix you want to get into and dominate it. So I'll give you an example. Tate, why did you move to fucking Bucharest? Why? Because you realized it was a matrix that was easy to dominate. And he does his own shit, does his own thing, nobody bothers him, blah, in, out, done. He figured out how to control his own little matrix. There's guys out here like Napoleon Bonaparte or Alexander the Great. They're like, fuck it, I'm taking over the entire thing because, I got to take over the entire matrix. That's a different scenario. So I'm in the business of making sure that I'm autonomous, and it's a very worthwhile life. And I think that if people gave it an opportunity, they'd be happy.
This idea of health being the foundation of everything is where people need to start. So mental health, physical health, spiritual health. I won't go into details, but those are the three quadrants inside health. The second one is wealth, right? You need to be able to, well, in this case, wealth, we're just going to use it for money's sake. But when I talk about wealth, I talk about abundance, a lifestyle of abundance. You need to be able to create an abundant lifestyle. And that means you need to be able to have enough to be able to focus on yourself full time. You don't need $10 billion, right? That's not going to make you happy. You need enough money that your full-time job now becomes developing yourself. Imagine, Sebastian, for 18 hours a day, you just focused on yourself. Mm-hmm. No business, no house, nothing. Like, it was all personal. You were just training on yourself. How far ahead would you be of any other person in any realm of human endeavor that you decided to pursue? You'd be so far ahead, it would be unbelievable. So the second one is this idea of wealth. Develop habits that allow you to create a life of abundance. The last one is focus on the things that have meaning and purpose, because a lot of people get caught up by the material bullshit. They get caught up by the system. They get caught up by the things of the world. And when it's all said and done, they die and they're forgotten, and the things that they've built crumble. And I know a lot of people listening, you know, they have existential questions on eternity. They have existential questions on the future of life, and they have concerns. And I think that a fair amount of time of your life should be allocated to the pursuit of what is the meaning of life and why am I here? So I think you have to have health as your foundation of your operating system to continue keeping you alive. I think you need to have wealth, a life of abundance, so that you can be able to operate freely. And I think you need to be able to focus on the spiritual side, be able to focus on things that transcend the day-to-day. And I think that would allow you to live a life of purpose. I would say those are the three. The fourth is not necessarily meaningful, but those would be the three to answer your question.